time. He'd already had some attempts against his life. So...
Why had he had attempts on his life?
Well, there were many and various reasons. There was one woman, Billy's never told us who she is, but he said later on she joined their group or became involved with their group. But she tried to shoot him. She felt that he was part of a satanic situation that was developing around the Antichrist. She thought he might be one of the Antichrist because of the seven sisters, the Palladian contact. Somewhere in the Bible it mentions, I think, that the Antichrist movement would begin in a connection with seven. And a lot of people thought for many years it might be the seven hills of Rome, might be Catholicism.
Well, seven is just permeating throughout the Bible.
Totally, yes.
It's built upon sevens.
Yes.
In a very majestic, mathematical way.
But going back to your earlier question, we did our damnedest to provide security on this, but we ran into a major problem when it came to the scientists. We lost several nags, inner negatives, because we had to ship them off to scientists. We couldn't get people to come into Phoenix and analyze the material. So eventually we had to begin to trust various scientists. And of course we made some bad choices in the beginning, some bad picks. And also, there seems to be some form of an obsessive energy or quality that develops when it comes to the Palladian case. People that get information, that receive information, all of a sudden feel that they don't want to part with it any longer. They don't want to return it to the original owner. Billy ran through this before we ever got to him. He had lost hundreds of photographs.
Souvenirs, as it were.
Pardon me?
Souvenirs of some sort.
Oh, yes, yes. It's like a friend once told me who was in the gold dredging business down in South America. He said, you know, you can take the most honest dredge people that work on these dredges. I mean, they wouldn't steal anything, but yet when it comes to that river and those gold nuggets start coming up through that suction hose, they see one, they like it, and they stick it in their pocket. And to them, it's not stealing. And I think that analogy held true for this case as well. They didn't feel they were stealing anything. They felt it was in better hands, quote unquote. So we ran into problems there. And when we did, we started losing material. We lost metal fragments. We lost negatives. We lost a lot of things.
Well, some of the pictures that came out of it, there have been great cries that they were fakes, or that they were models.
Well, you know, it's easy to sit back in the United States or any country and look at Volume 1 or Volume 2 and say, my God, those pictures they're great, they're beautiful, they're the best we've ever seen, the best photo evidence to date. But, and so many of the so-called, quote, experts said this, they said, but they're too good to be true. And I had the same feelings when Wendell brought those photographs in. When Lou Zenstock brought the first Meier photographs in to his house down in Tucson. Britt and I, we were staying there with him, and my first reaction, Bill, is, hey, these are too good to be true. We've never seen anything like this. So the point of the story is this. It's easy to second-guess things. But I went there, and I walked those sites, especially Hassan Bowl. I've been to Hassan Bowl probably a dozen times. And every time I've been there, the wind is blowing fiercely there. It's always cold, it's windswept. But how a man, or anybody, especially a one-armed man, could hang a model there is beyond me. I just rule that out. It was totally impossible. Then when you see the Beamship movie footage, forget it. These definitely are not models.
Well, in the Beamship movie footage, there is one section, and I mentioned that to you, that looks like it may be a model hanging on a string. Until you look at it closely, it doesn't behave quite like a model. Obviously, it was very, very windy. And this model also was causing the top of the tree to bend.
Right.
And that would have to be one heck of a model.
Well, that's a general consensus of a lot of friends that I've showed this footage to, and the same thing. Another thing you want to look at in that one segment, you're talking about the segment now where the Beamship flies around the tree and over the farmhouse, right?
Right, uh-huh. in a sort of a circular thing.
Right.
Now, I realized that Simjasi, the astronaut, was trying to keep the beam ship in camera range at all time, for it was a photo opportunity for Billy Meier. So she was doing pretty good at that.
Well, you know, there's a real mystery to that segment. I want to share it with you because very few people know this. In 1978, when Wendell brought back the movie footage, he brought back a copy of the 8mm footage. And we must have watched this 20, 30 times in his home, throwing it up on a wall or throwing it up on a screen. And never once in that year-and-a-half period did we ever see that tree move with this scene we're talking about now. We didn't see, I never saw it move until the Japanese in TV arrived at the Meier farmhouse, and the beam ship footage is compiled of what they shot in Meier's living room off the wall with their video camera. And that was the first time that we saw the tree move. Number one, we were dealing with Billy's second or third generation copy. His original had already been stolen. But Wendell had like a sixth or seventh generation copy. And of course the resolution was so bad you couldn't see the tree move. So again, going back to photography, this is one of the things you have to look for, and that's how many generations down are you dealing with.
You know, I should mention something here, Lee. We're talking about the beam ship footage. I know many of those in this audience have seen Contact from Pleiades, #1, and perhaps Volume 2. They both have been published by Genesis 3, which is your company. And now you are making available a 90-minute home cassette, video cassette, for the people, which includes the movie footage taken by Billy Meier, plus interviews with Billy Meier that the Japanese, the group from Nippon Television took. And you were kind enough to send me my copy, which I value, as I did Volume 1 and Volume 2, and they are fantastic.
You know what's unique about that footage now? You have to remember, Bill, we sat on that for almost 5 years. Now, we sat on it during the time when our critics were saying that we didn't have any evidence. They were saying a lot of things. But, you know, as it is now, the timing is right, and we're now ready to release it so that the people can see what we've seen since 1978 and 79. And what's amazing about Beam Ship, the movie footage, is the fact there are 8 segments of movie footage that are all daylight. 1 segment of night footage. But in each segment of daylight footage, there's a different scene. There's a different situation. You have one where Meier walks into the scene. The beam ship is hovering above. You have another, which is my favorite, and others, where this well-traveled highway, you see this beam ship hovering over it. And you can count 4 different automobiles, automobile traffic that travels beneath the beam ship as it sort of just lumbers there silently, just hovering above. So it's amazing footage. We've never seen anything like this before.
Well, I was intrigued by the footage where the beam ship just in a twinkling changes positions. And then just disappears.
Which so is the Japanese.
Which is a part of the technology of the ship, as has been explained to us by Wendell. And I think you went in that with us one night. We also had an explanation given to us by Edwin Slade, who spent some time at Smith Rudy here about 6 weeks ago when he was with us. And there you can see in these tapes that actually happened. So you're making it available for home video consumption, VHS or Beta, huh?
Yes, we are. It's the only UFO, and we don't like to use that word UFO anymore.
And they're IFOs.
I think IFO is much better because they identify themselves. But we are making it available to the public to let everybody decide for themselves whether this is a model or if it's for real. And I think that's the key thing to this whole case, because I think a certain percentage of the public will always feel that it's a hoax, and another percentage will always feel that it's real. We've seen these percentages work for 5 years now. And one of the reasons we're releasing this is you decide. In other words, after you see it, you decide. And that's all we're asking.
Well, one thing, it seems to me, for it to be a hoax, that Billy Meier, the little one-armed farmer in Switzerland, way outside of Zurich there, would have had to have been able to access special effects studios